right, last team on the agenda for today is the Las Vegas Raiders. We go across the entire NFL. We go over the 2024 season. We go over this 2025 offseason, and then we give our predictions for what we think is going to happen for this 2024 or 2025 NFL season. Excuse me. And the team that is on our radar today are the Las Vegas Raiders, who ended up finishing 4-13 in the AFC West, and they finished last in their division. They obviously did not make the playoffs. And then after the season was over, they fired Antonio Pierce. I wasn't big on the Antonio Pierce hire when it happened, just because he was never a head coach anywhere else. And I felt that there was some fool's gold at the end of the 2024 run where they just kind of had some luck to be able to boost them up a little bit and get some wins under their belt. But to act so brash and to then hire him as the head coach, I was all over this a little bit, as like, man, that's really fluky. And I would probably want somebody in my building as my head coach with a little bit more experience than just never being a head coach at any stop along the way, high school, college, anything, and to land your first head coaching job in the NFL. Great job by Antonio Pierce. And how about next time? And we've talked about this a ton. Don't listen to your star players when they sit there and try to make head coaching hires, because there's a reason why they're football players, and you have a staff of people who interview head coaches who are available for the job. And to sit there and have so much stock in an opinion like a Max Crosby, who is their franchise player, and I like him, and somebody like who Devontae Adams is, who ended up just leaving halfway through the season anyway. Never do that ever again. That was just a boneheaded move by Mark Davis, the owner.
Yeah, right hand up. I was a little higher on the Antonio Pierce coaching higher than you. Clearly that didn't work out. Clearly I was wrong. So this is me taking accountability for that. But yeah, they were swindled into listening to their best players, and one of them ended up leaving. So definitely next time do like a more thorough coaching hire interview process. But you live and you learn. They brought in Pete Carroll this year as the head coach. They brought in Chip Kelly as the OC. They keep Patrick Graham as the defensive coordinator. But all in all, I love those two moves is bringing in Pete Carroll, bringing in Chip Kelly. So I think things are trending in a better direction coaching wise for the Raiders this season. What do you think?
We made a video a little bit ago where I actually asked, the Raiders fans hated my guts after I made the claims that they were going to be one of the worst teams in the NFL and Antonio Pierce was going to get fired. They all tried to tell me that I was absolutely crazy. Then you look at what they did this offseason, and I asked the Raiders for the Raiders fans to forgive me for my past claims, because I think that out of every single team in the entire NFL, who had a better offseason than the Las Vegas Raiders? I think that every single thing that they did this offseason raised their team to a level of competency that is going to get watched played out as the season progresses. They go, and you saw, as much as I downplayed Tom Brady being a part owner of this team, you really saw what could happen when you bring somebody in like Tom Brady as a head guy in an organization. They go, things didn't work out with Antonio Pierce. They go and they cut ties with him immediately. You go and you bring in Pete Carroll, who's been successful everywhere, that his entire career in college and in the pros has played, who's been a very successful head coach his whole time. Then you go and you spend the money, a lot of money, on somebody like Chip Kelly, who for some reason people must forget how successful of offenses that he had during his tenure as an NFL head coach. obviously it didn't work out with him as an NFL head coach, and he was probably given a little bit too much leeway and power in the Eagles organization to make personnel decisions. But now you're sitting with somebody who is no longer making any of those personnel decisions. They bring in John Spytek to be the general manager, and then you have Pete Carroll being the base as the head coach, and then you just have Chip Kelly worrying about the offense. I think that's amazing. So yes, I think that having the level of competency you're going to watch that play out this season, having
You're going to see you cut out. You're going to see the level of competency play out. How?
dude, I'm going to freak. You're just going to, this coaching staff's going to be good. I mean, that's really all there is to it.
Yeah,
I mean,
think so. I think so too. Chip Kelly coming off of a national championship at Ohio State, where he was the offensive coordinator there, stepping right into a scenario where the quarterback situation is better than it was the previous year, and you have a phenomenal weapon that you get to use in Brock Bowers, and then you go out and you draft a guy like Ashton Genty to be your bell cow back. Like, Chip Kelly is going to have this offense probably moving different, to say the least.
Yeah, way different. And I'm happy that you said that. A big acquisition that they made this past offseason was with a player like Geno Smith, who I personally feel like his importance in like the ethos of like quarterback play is like a little bit like underplayed. He obviously was a journeyman a little bit when he was bouncing around the league, when he was like on the Jets and a backup for a long time. But then at a certain point, not Chip Kelly, Pete Carroll believed in him, honestly, at a point, was like, hey, we want you to be our guy. And since he's been a starter in the NFL, he went 9-8 his first season. He went 8-7 in 2023. That Seattle Seahawks team was a little bit of a dumpster fire. They still won 8 games. And then last season in 2024, he won 10 games and just missed out on the playoffs a little bit with that Seahawks team due to some tiebreak stuff. That is another move that I'm talking about, where that raises the level of competency within this organization more than we're going to know until these games actually start getting played. To have somebody to come in, like, if you ask anybody who upgraded their quarterback position more than anybody this entire offseason, the answer is the Las Vegas Raiders. They had zeros playing for them at the quarterback position. And now you bring somebody in here who can legitimately has a floor of winning 8 to 9 games pretty consistently throughout his career as a starter.
Yeah, I think the quarterback situation is can't be stated about how much better it is having Geno Smith in there versus just the incompetent carousel of the Aiden O'Connells, Jimmy Garoppolo. I'm drawing a blank. I tried to cut out all of the guys that were there.
Desmond Ridder,
yeah. They did just bring in Kenny Pickett to come in and play backup, which people forget. But
he's a Super Bowl winning quarterback.
Geno starting puts this Raiders team in a drastically different conversation than they were in last season.
Yeah. One thing that I want to touch on too is this Christian Wilkins situation that kind of was like a very weird situation where one thing that I feel like that was understated a little bit is like, there was clearly a disconnect with him and the team. Whatever happened. It sounded like it was some weird shit, but it looks like he wasn't going to be playing this season regardless. He's still not picked up by an NFL team as of right now. And that was also a move made to bring him in and pay him all of that money. That was a move made by the previous regime. So for this regime to come in and he's not going to play this season, there was clearly, with Christian Wilkins, there was clearly something else going on in the locker room. And for them to cut ties and just be like, hey man, like, yeah, you're out of here. I mean, I like the move right away. I like the fact that they can come in, state their dominance, and actually make decisive decision making. And I think that the Christian Wilkins love at this point is blown way out of proportion because he's just not healthy at all. He hasn't been healthy his entire time with Las Vegas, and he wasn't going to be healthy this upcoming season. He was a zero for them for this Raiders team moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, coming in and making a move like that, I think is important as well. We were just talking about the Jets and how they had a similar scenario with Aaron Rodgers, and for Pete Carroll and this new group to come in and be like, "Hey, man, like you got to get your stuff and get out of here." Just sets like a new standard, a new culture, which the Raiders haven't really had in a while. So I think that's important. I think having a culture means a lot. Having a positive culture, having people that you want in the locker room there and guys that want to be there, like I think that matters a lot as far as team chemistry goes, and just having the moxie to go in there and tell one of your most expensive players to get the hell out of there is a ballsy move, and I think it'll likely pay off for them down the road. But yeah, that's not something that you see every day.
No, not at all. And it just goes to show you it emphasizes more and more that there's a new regime in the building and they're going to be moving a little bit different than they had in the past. But some off-season additions, obviously we touched on it. They brought in Geno Smith, they traded for Kenny Pickett. They just signed Amari Cooper the other day, which I think that that's an interesting move. I think that he's probably over the hump, but to bring him back to the Raiders organization, if he could just provide something to you, I think that could be potentially interesting. And then on the defensive side of the football, I know that they signed Devin White. I know they signed Jermaine Pratt, Jeremy Chin. Is there anybody else that I'm missing for acquisitions for them?
They brought in Raheem Mostert and Eric Stokes and Landon Roberts as well. Devin White's on here, but he was a castaway from Philadelphia, didn't play, and I don't really know if he's going to play here either.
He is the starting sub linebacker for them on this roster on their 3-4 defense right now.
No, I don't love that.
Well, hey, pal, not everybody's the Philadelphia Eagles. So you can just have 4 deep in every single position. So
I know that.
Yeah, I mean, there's no secret that this defense doesn't have a lot of talent on it. So
correct.
So to continue on some of these, Lonnie Johnson Jr., it looks like they got as well. Ian Thomas, the tight end, and Leke Fotu as well. I don't know if you said those guys, so sorry.
No, that's okay. Do you want to cover the losses now?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead. I think it's a bunch of old guys, I think.
Yeah, a similar situation. Trayvon Moehrig went to the Panthers safety. We just talked about him a couple videos ago. Nate Hobbs, Robert Spillane, Divine Diablo, John Jenkins, Cody Whitehair, Marcus Epps, Amir Abdullah, Alexander Madison, Harrison Bryant, Terrence Marshall Jr., Gardner Minshew, Jack Jones, Janarius Robinson, and Desmond Ridder. So a lot of lower guys on the depth chart on a team that wasn't great. Not really sure how much NFL time is left for a lot of those guys. Besides Trayvon Moehrig, who I named at the beginning of this, but yeah, pretty much just them trying to trim the fat along the edges.
Yeah, I'm completely with you. In the first round, in the NFL draft, 2025 draft, in the first round at 6th overall, they go Ashton Genty. As the draft was getting to play out, there was a lot of buzz that they were going to go Armen Membu at this spot. I love this pick. I wanted them to take Ashton Genty so bad. It's like just take a dog, take a player that's going to be good for you for a long time. So to go and get Ashton Genty, that was awesome. Do you have the rest of their picks here? Because mine's all wonky.
Yeah, I do. So in the second round, they took wide receiver Jack Beck out of TCU. Third round, they had 3 picks. They took cornerback Darian Porter out of Iowa State. They took back-to-back offensive tackles at 98 and 99 with Caleb Rogers out of Texas Tech and Charles Grant out of, I think that's William and Mary. Fourth round, they took Deontay Thornton out of Tennessee and defensive tackle Tonka Hemingway out of South Carolina. Sixth round, they had 3 picks again. They took defensive tackle JJ Pegas, wide receiver Tommy Melton out of Montana, quarterback Cam Miller out of North Dakota State, and then with their final pick in the 7th round, they took linebacker Cody Lindenberg out of Minnesota. His brother is the offensive lineman for the Ravens, I believe. Nice. So some NFL ties there, but yeah, I won't sit here. I'm not super familiar with a lot of these guys outside of Ashton Genty. Jack Beck was a guy that got a lot of buzz at the Senior Bowl. His brother unfortunately passed away in that New Orleans, that guy that just drove through downtown New Orleans and killed a bunch of people, was a big story that was going on while Jack Beck was at the Senior Bowl, and he went out and actually balled in the drills and raised his stock and finds himself getting drafted in the 2nd round to the Las Vegas Raiders. So really sad, really unfortunate what happened to his brother. But he playing for his honor, raised his stock, and has a shot to play on an NFL team. Doesn't really get much better.
He is playing on an NFL team, so that's positive.
Yeah, I know. But I'm talking at the time.
And now to transition into this 2025 season with some Vegas lines, it's a rough transition, but it needed to be made.
It did.
I didn't know how to swap over from that. But for them to win the AFC West, they're sitting at plus 1100. They're sitting behind the Chiefs, obviously our favorite, Denver Broncos, Chargers, and then the Las Vegas Raiders, plus 1100. I feel like that's a pretty big long shot for them, which I don't feel like that's probably the best, but I don't know. I don't agree with that is what I'm getting at here. Their win total over under currently is sitting at 7.5. They're obviously a long shot to win the AFC West. You go first about some of the win total, division, and all that stuff. What are you thinking about when you see that? Do you think that's fair, or what are you thinking here?
So 7.5 is feels relatively fair based off of the talent that they have on defense. Because if you were to tell me that the Raiders won 8 games and the over hit, I wouldn't think twice about it. A thing that I am looking at here is the Las Vegas Raiders to make the playoffs at plus 290. I know that it's not high odds, what you typically look for, but you are the Geno Smith guru on this podcast, and that is a bet that I see you loving, is them to make the playoffs at plus 290. Maybe not necessarily the value that you typically look for, but this could sneaky be a playoff team.
If you like them to make the playoffs, then just bet them to win the division at plus 1100. I mean, that's just, there's so much more value. There's so much, that's way more juice worth the squeeze. And if you're sitting here saying oh, this could be a potential playoff team, then yeah, I'm taking them to win the division all day. I do think when we talked about the Chargers, I picked them to win the division. And to spoil a little bit more of this 2025 prediction is I see them finishing second in this division just based on the other teams. I said that the Chiefs at this point, they've had so many deep runs, so many things go wrong. And even last year when the Raiders were playing a team like the Chiefs, interdivision, and how bad they were last season, I'm looking at the 2 times that they went up against them. They lose 19-17 against them in November. And then they lose 27-20 to the Chiefs. I mean, these are 1 possession football games, and you were rolling out Aiden O'Connell and Gardner Minshew against this Chiefs team. So now, like this is just what I'm getting back to when I'm thinking about the Raiders and all of the stuff that is continuing to happen with them. The level of competency has raised so much with this football team, and when they play these interdivisional games, they obviously got smoked by Denver, which is fine. But when they're going up against the top of the class, which is the Kansas City Chiefs, who played in the Super Bowl last year, they were able to keep it close. They played them tough. They were able to figure some things out. So yeah, I like them as a dart throw long shot to be one of those teams that go. There's a team every single year that goes worst to first. There are people that threw out a lot of other teams. This Raiders team is the clear candidate for that, in my opinion. Like I said, out of every team in the NFL, who upgraded the most this offseason? It's the Raiders, and it's not close. They upgraded the quarterback position, which is the most important position in football. And then on top of it, they upgraded their offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, and their head coach. So yeah, I love the Raiders to be one of those teams that could potentially go worst to first.
So with that being said, what is your 2025 prediction for the Las Vegas Raiders?
I see them winning 11 games. I think that what we're looking here, and this is a team that 2 seasons ago, under Josh McDaniels and Antonio Pierce, won 8 games. Then this season, they come out and they win 4 games. Do they get that bump? Is what they did this offseason worth as big as a bump that I'm talking about? I just don't see how it's not. You get year 2 of Brock Bowers, who is clearly a special player, who's like a blue chip type guy. You get Ashton Genty in the run game, which you looked at their run game last season. It was one of the worst in the entire NFL. Just with Zamir White and Alexander Madison. I mean, those guys stink. I mean, Alexander Madison is the 4th string running back on the Miami Dolphins, and Zamir White is now the 3rd string running back for the Las Vegas Raiders. You bring in somebody like Ashton Genty, who's a blue chip guy. You bring in somebody like Raheem Mostert, who's still a veteran who can produce, and I love that. Then you look at like this pass catching group, which it was I felt like it was a fair question mark to have. You have Jacoby Myers, who I think is a really good player. You drafted Jack Beach at the top of the 2nd round, which I think he's going to be able to come in and help. Then you sign a veteran like Amari Cooper. Like I said, he might not have that much left in the tank, but to sign another body who could potentially produce for you at this point, I'm gonna have to. It's got my eyes a little bit. I like the idea of Geno Smith and Amari Cooper together, and I think that that's a hot take to say at this point. But when he signed it, I was like, where could Amari Cooper fit in? Because obviously he didn't fit in last year on the Buffalo Bills, just based off of the play style that they had. It was just like a lot of like short, intermediate, quick game stuff behind the line of scrimmage with like a Khalil Shakur, for example. And obviously they were one of the most run heaviest teams in the entire NFL. Now, on the other side of things, I think that this is going to be a very balanced attack the way that they're going to attack everything. They clearly have the talent at running back to be able to do it, but also at the same time, Geno has been one of the most pass heavy quarterbacks over the last 3 seasons in his time with Seattle, and he's proven that he's able to be one of the most accurate passers in the entire NFL and put out a top 12 passing offense when he's sitting behind the center. So I like this group of pass catchers who, it might not be a group of flashy type of guys, but these guys have probably some of the most sure hands in the NFL, and I think that that's just important right now. I really am high on this football team, and then when you look at the other side of the football, I know that this might not wow you in any way, shape, or form, but I feel like with Pete Carroll's history, to be able to coach up defenses, you have to give him some sort of level of base play, being like, okay, this guy can have a middle of the road defense in the NFL. What sets them apart is being able to have somebody like a Max Crosby who has proven that he's a dog in this NFL. And can he take that next step? One of my favorite bets of the entire offseason, and I said this months ago to you, is Max Crosby to win Defensive Player of the Year at plus 1,600. He's a guy that I think can elevate his play, and to have a real defensive coach inside the building, somebody who can elevate a defense, not Antonio Pierce, I think that we're going to see the best of Max Crosby going into this next season. So, although this cast of talent might not be eye popping or by any stretch of the imagination, I'm giving Pete Carroll the benefit of the doubt to be able to put together a middle of the road defense with an elite talent like Max Crosby to help them rush the passer and could potentially set them over the edge. So yeah, I'd like this team as a potential breakout candidate to go worst to first. I think that this team upgraded the most out of everybody this entire offseason. Sorry, I just said a lot.
You're good. So, what a story. You've gone from being the biggest Raiders hater to their biggest fan, maybe.
I mean, if you're sitting here looking at me right now and you're being like, all the teams in the NFL, you had there was an opportunity. All the teams who had question marks at quarterback this season, you had an opportunity to go out and grab a top 10 quarterback in the NFL, and that's just what the Raiders just went and do, and you get to plop him in that offense. The reasoning why I didn't like the Raiders so much last year is because the Raiders fans were trying to tell me that they were going to win 12 games with Alex O'Connell and
Yeah.
Pierce as their head coach, and it was like, that's not possible. This isn't they're not set up for success right now. Now you're talking about this is a whole different operation at this point than it was from last year. So yeah, I am very high on this football team for sure.
So I'll say I'm not as high as you. I think this team finds themselves around.
Time out. Before you even said that, do I give a good case of why this team could potentially be the worst to first candidate?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you have made a very, very solid case for that. I think adding a competent head coach and a competent quarterback is a very solid boost. 7-win difference is a lot, is how I look at it. I think it probably is around 4 to 5 more wins. But there, like you said before, there is a team that goes worst to first every year, and I think you laid out plenty of valid reasons as to why. So, like I said, I'm not as high on them. I think they're somewhere around 8 or 9 wins, but this team is going to be drastically better. It's going to be a significantly better run organization. They're going to be in a lot of games. I think. I think they're going to be the team that you look at on your schedule and are like, yeah, I know that the Raiders are maybe 4-6 right now, but like they lost 2 games to somebody. They lost a game to somebody in overtime. They lost a game uh they lost a 1-score game where they kind of shot themselves in the foot. Like they're a team that you don't want to face. They're going to be scrappy as hell, I think, and I think they're just going to give teams a lot of fits throughout the season. I think you mentioned the Amari Cooper addition. I think what people should be talking about more is the Jacoby Myers breakout year that's coming. I think Jacoby Myers is pretty underrated as a wide receiver, and I think that Geno Smith has done a great job with his previous weapons in Seattle throwing the football. I think JSN looked great in that last season, and I think that Jacoby Myers played well last year, and I think he's just going to continue to build on that. That's a guy that I know we don't necessarily talk a ton about fantasy, but like with the amount of times that Geno Smith has thrown in the past, I don't think it'll be quite as much because they actually have a good running back now, but I still think they're going to throw the football around, and I think Jacoby Myers is going to have a really good year. I think that he's a guy to target in fantasy, and I'm pretty high on him. I think for this upcoming season, and then obviously I know he's not the first option to throw the football to when you have a guy like Brock Bowers, but I'm high on Jacoby Myers this upcoming season with Geno playing quarterback for them.
Yeah, I love that take. I mean, Jacoby is obviously underrated as is. So yeah, I love Jacoby Myers as a potential breakout candidate. for this upcoming season as well. He obviously wants a new contract. I think that he's just going to play regardless, but it is what it is. Go out and get your contract. The last few seasons where he has been playing, he had 800-yard season with 8 touchdowns, and last year he finally cracked 1,000 yards with 4 touchdowns. And like you said, somebody who loves to figure out to sling the football and to have somebody with as sure-handed as Jacoby Myers. I mean, I'm right there with you.
And having Chip Kelly going in there, calling up plays, concocting Lord knows what on the offensive side of the ball. I think this offense will be more creative than it has been in the past, and I think Chip Kelly is going to have these boys rolling offensively.
What's your prediction for the 2025 season?
I have them at. I think I have to have them at 8 and 9 because of how I picked the Chiefs and the Chargers. I think they're at the third place. They're in third place in this division, but again, I can't stress enough. This is just a team that you can't look by. I think they're going to shock a couple teams along the way, and they're going to be a really difficult team to play throughout the season. But I am posting them at 8 and 9. I think a 7-game jump is a lot. Do I think it's out of the question? No, but I think that's everything goes right in Las Vegas, which could happen. I'm just being more conservative with my guess. So I'm going 8 and 9, third place, but a significantly better outlook for the Raiders moving forward than what a lot of people thought probably directly at the end of last season.
Yeah, I'm just going bold on my prediction. I like them to make the playoffs this year. Yep. Somebody's got to do it. I'm not going to be like everybody else who picks the same exact thing across the entire NFL for the entire season. And at some point, you have to take one of these risks and push your chips in. I did that with the Arizona Cardinals, and I'm doing that with the Las Vegas Raiders as well. So hopefully we'll see that play out.
We will see. All right, we're almost there. We're almost there, Steve.
My food's here. I just got
Chinese. A week away.
I got Chinese food from Jasmine, which if you haven't had it yet, it's fire. So I'm about to go eat.
Yep, I'm about to go dive into some pasta and ground beef.
And Rutgers is throwing, so see ya.
Go Birds.
I just spit it. Good girl, we're getting paper.